Leela, chapter, let's see, whatever number the chapter is, entitled The Lord Instructs Sanatana Goswami, and we're starting from text 123, is it? Okay. Shastra Guru Atma Rupe Apanare Janana Shastra Guru Atma Rupe Apanara Janana Krishna Mora Prabhu Trata Jivera Haya Jnana Krishna Mora Prabhu Trata Jivera Haya Jnana Shastra Guru Atma Rupe Apanare Janana Krishna Mora Prabhu Trata Jivera Haya Jnana Shastra Guru Atma Rupe Apanare Jnana Krishna Mora Prabhu Trata Jivera Haya Jnana Shastra Guru Atma Rupe Apanare Janana Krishna Mora Prabhu Trata Jivera Haya Jnana. Please chant.
Krishna Mora Prabhu Trata Jivera Hoya Jnana Krishna Mora Prabhu Trata Jivera Hoya Jnana Shastra Guru Atma Rupe Apanari Jnana Krishna Mora Prabhu Trata Jivera Hoya Jnana Krishna Mora Prabhu Trata Jivera Hoya Jnana Shastra Guru Atma Rupe Apanari Guru Atma Rupe Apanari Krishna Mora Prabhu Trata Jivera Krishna Mora Prabhu Trata Jivera.
Anybody else like to chant?
Shastra Guru Atma Rupe Apanari Jnana Krishna Mora Prabhu Trata Jivera.
Shastra Guru Atma Rupe. In the form of the Vedic literature, the spiritual master and the supersoul, Apanari Janana, informs about himself. Krishna, Lord Krishna, Mora, my Prabhu, Lord, Trata, deliverer, Jivera, of the conditioned soul, Haya, there is, Jnana, knowledge. Translation. Second. Shishiko Nitama Pishashiki Jai. The forgetful conditioned soul is educated by Krishna through the Vedic literatures, the realized spiritual master, and the supersoul. Through these, he can understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead as he is, and he can understand that Lord Krishna is his eternal master and deliverer from the clutches of Maya. In this way, one can acquire real knowledge of his conditioned life and can come to understand how to attain liberation. Please repeat. The forgetful conditioned soul is educated by Krishna through the Vedic literatures, the realized spiritual master, and the super soul. Through these, he can understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead as he is. And he can understand that Lord Krishna is his, give me a second, his eternal master and deliverer from the clutches of Maya. In this way, one can acquire real knowledge of his conditioned life and can come to understand how to attain liberation. Srila Prabhupada's purport. Being forgetful of his real position, the conditioned soul may take help from Shastra Guru and the super soul within his heart. Krishna is situated within everyone's heart as a super soul. As stated in Bhagavad Gita 18:6-1. Ishvara sarvabhutanam hrideshir junatishthati brahmayan sarvabhutani yantra rudani mayaya. The Supreme Lord is situated in everyone's heart, O Arjuna, and is directing the wanderings of all living entities who are seated as on a machine made of material energy. As the Shaktavesh avatar, Vyasadeva, Krishna teaches the conditioned soul through the Vedic literatures. Krishna externally appears as the spiritual master and trains the conditioned soul to come to Krishna consciousness. When his original Krishna consciousness is revived, the conditioned soul is delivered from the material clutches. Thus, a conditioned soul is always helped by the Supreme Personality of Godhead in three ways: by the scriptures, the spiritual master, and the super soul within the heart. The Lord is the deliverer of the conditioned soul and is accepted as the Supreme Lord of all living entities. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita 18:66, Sarvadharman parityaja mamekam sharanam vraja aham tvam sarva papebhyo mokshayasya mama suchaha. Abandon all varieties of religion and surrender unto me. I shall protect you from all sinful actions. Do not fear. This same instruction is found throughout all Vedic literatures. Sadhu, Shastra, and Guru act as the representatives of Krishna, and the Krishna conscious movement is also taking place all over the universe. Whoever takes advantage of this opportunity becomes liberated. Om Gyantamarandasya Gyananjana Slakaya Chakshun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Vikam Karoti Vachalam Bhangam Lagayate Grim Yatkripatamam Vande Shigrim Dintaranam Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Translation again. The forgetful conditioned soul is educated by Krishna through the Vedic literatures, the realized spiritual master, and the super soul. Through these, he can understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead as he is, and he can understand that Lord Krishna is his eternal master and deliverer from the clutches of Maya. In this way, one can acquire real knowledge of his conditioned life and can come to understand how to attain liberation. So in the beginning of this purport here, Prabhupada talks about how the living entity can gain remembrance of the Supreme Lord. So first of all, if one is forgetting something, then we have to find some means to revive that memory. Just as if one has some bump on the head, then sometimes they get this, what's it called? I forget. Amnesia. Yep. And then sometimes you used to see as a kid or cartoons or other movies, somebody would get a bump in the head and they'd forget and they get another bump in the head and it comes back again. So Maya's given us a bump in the head and we've forgotten Krishna. And we keep on taking these bump on the heads. We're thinking, oh, Maya's okay. Maybe another bump and I'll remember. I'll find what I'm looking for. So we try to take shelter in Krishna, in the spiritual master. But if we don't continue to take that shelter, then we'll keep on getting a bump in the head. It's not simply just a case that we get a new name and then we're just going to go back to Godhead because we've got a new name. It's not like that. Or we take some vows and we just decide, oh, I'm tired of following these, let me do something else. It's not working. We have to be steady on it. That's why patience is required. So we... the Guru said in Shastra, but here particularly it's mentioning the spiritual master Shastra and the Lord within the heart, who's also a type of Guru. Does anyone remember the name of that Guru? Chaitya Guru, the Lord within the heart. And the spiritual master is considered to be the external manifestation of the Chaitya Guru. So what the spiritual master says, if he's a bona fide spiritual master, won't be any different from what the Shastra says and what the Lord is saying. So sometimes people talk about doing things from the heart, but if the heart is contaminated, then what's the value of doing things from the heart, right? It's such sentimentality is not going to help you at the time of death. It's not going to help us progress in devotional service. So the heart has to be cleansed, and that takes some time because we've been in the material world for a long time. So it takes a bit of effort and a bit of time. And it is possible by suitable practice and by detachment. So at the moment, we may not be feeling so detached, but the suitable practice will bring about detachment in due course. We are becoming detached already. So many things we used to do, we don't do any longer. And we're doing so many things now in Krishna's service, such as rising early, taking a bath, putting on tilak, chanting the holy names, taking the deities, Chanamrita. We're doing so many things we never did before. So we're gradually replacing everything. And it's only a matter of time before the effect will be seen. In fact, actually, it's already seen. We don't see it. We don't really see it. It's just like, I remember one devotee in particular, he came from quite a rough background, and you could see it on his face. You were just thinking that, don't mess with this guy, you might end up with, some kind of getting done in or something. He was from quite a heavy background, and he even explained that himself. But after a short period of time, then he didn't look the same person. If you were to take a photograph of the person when they come in the door, and then a year or two later, and you think, these don't look like the same person at all. And it's a fact, because what we were in the material world, when we come to Krishna consciousness, then we leave that behind. So when we become a devotee, especially when we come to the point we take initiation, then we're leaving the old self behind. In one sense, that old self doesn't exist unless we keep feeding it. Unless we keep that old self. We keep some of the old self alive by continuing to do the things which the old self identifies with, then it will still be there. So we have to put both feet in the spiritual world, not one foot in the spiritual world and keep one in the material world just in case. So that takes a little bit of courage to do that. And because Krishna's in the heart, then Krishna will give us messages in so many ways to help us. And sometimes we don't see it as help. Sometimes we think it's a disturbance or annoyance or an inconvenience. But Krishna is trying to get us to give up attachment to this material world so that we can come back to him. Because the things we're attached to in the material world with, we can't take them back with us. But not just the things, the mentality we have, we can't take that back to the spiritual world. It's not like we go back to the spiritual world and then we think, okay, enough of these pastimes, I'm going to wait for a space out. A bit of me time. Krishna, I need a bit of self-care. Of course, the real self-care is Krishna consciousness. That is knowing what the self is. And in the material world, we have to do so many things to try to favorably cultivate Krishna consciousness around our own heart and mind. If we're too hard on ourselves, then we might actually just go the other way, where we become inimical, where we lose enthusiasm. So we have to, part of realizing the self is also to realize our conditioning and how we can best engage ourselves. Just like if you're responsible for engaging another person in service, then you try to see what is going to be most conducive for this person. You try to speak to them in a way which makes them favorable. And so that you're hoping, because this Krishna consciousness movement means movement. So that means that we're not just happy with the numbers that we have, we want to give it to other people. So therefore we also have to be careful, is what I'm saying good for the person? Is what I'm saying out of ego? Is what I'm saying out of care for the person? So so sometimes we also have to be withhold saying things. We might see something, but we don't always say everything that we see, do we? If we just said everything we see, then there could be a lot of fault finding going on. So we try to train ourselves to see the good in others and to tolerate, so that we can cultivate the good in them, so that they maybe come closer to Krishna. If we're simply just trying to establish ourselves in some kind of pecking order, then people don't. What does it say? People don't want to know. They don't care what you know. They want to know if you care. So that kind of behooves all of us to take care of ourselves, first of all, in Krishna consciousness, and take on with this process of Krishna consciousness. And then we'll know how to give it to others. So when we talk about self-care, then that means, first of all, to do like that. I remember we were doing one festival, and it was quite an endeavour. It took a few days to get together. It was a public festival. A lot of people were engaged in chanting. A lot of prasadam went out. And I spoke to one senior devotee, and I was telling him about it. And he says, "And what about yourself?" And I says, "Well, I fell behind on my rounds the last couple of days." He says, "Well, what's the point of doing all that if you're not going to chant yourself?" And I felt this is really good. Rather than him saying, "Oh, well, that's good, at least you got a lot of people to chant and take prasad," his thing was, don't even bother doing that unless you're going to chant your own round. So to me, that was like somebody that cares, even though it's a movement and devotees are always happy to see preaching going on. Then this particular devotee was concerned that I take care of myself first. So that's I was really quite moved by that. So this is important. And if we have some difficulty with our Krishna consciousness, even the basic things which we have taken vows to do, or we have some regular daily activities, if we have difficulty with that, when we speak to another devotee and ask, how we can tackle those difficulties, those challenges. And sometimes it can be quite a simple, easy thing, because many devotees, we shouldn't think that I'm the only one who has this challenge and no one has come before me who has had this challenge. There's always someone in ISKCON who's been there before you. This is parampara. And they can guide us through the different pitfalls. So Shastra's there. When we're reading the books, I remember, particularly as a young devotee, I remember attending some class. And there were so many classes, the devotees were saying things. I was thinking, are they reading my mind? Are they talking about me behind my back or something? Because they were just saying so many things which were, I found, pertaining to myself. That's simply because this Krishna consciousness process applies to all of us. We're all in the same boat. So when we speak about Krishna consciousness, then it applies to us. And this is also how we make advancement. If we see how it applies to us and how this is for our benefit, then it's what's that? Then it is we will always make some advancement. always be able to take advantage. So there was another interesting point in the purport here Prabhupada was bringing up. Let's see if I can find it. Yeah, the Supreme Lord is situated in everyone's heart, and he's directing the wanderings of the living entities who are seated as on a machine made of material energy. So he's referring to the body. We're within this body. And the Lord's been with us for, since we came into this material world, the Lord's accompanied us the whole time. And throughout many lifetimes, the Lord brings us to this point. What's that verse? Vinam janmanamante gyanvam prapajate. What's the Samahatma Sudurlabha? And English, after many births. Knowing me to be the cause of all causes. Yeah. So after many births, Krishna directs the wanderings of living entities all the time. So there'll be some living entities now who may not even be human, but maybe in a few birth time they'll get a human, and if they have some desire to know why are they suffering, then Krishna will give them some opportunity to meet a devotee. Or even sometimes devotees are doing some Harinam and the holy name goes into the ears of the non-moving living entities and the animals. They are also spirit souls and they get some prasadam. And if they get some prasadam, then they're guaranteed a human birth next life. So the Lord is very kind. And as soon as someone is interested in trying to find out why am I suffering in this material, what's it all about, why am I here, then the Lord will give them the opportunity. But then also, Maya will be there to test, if you want the real deal. So, therefore, when there was, Prabhupada had commented regarding Bhogi Yogis that they were rascals, those who are misleading people just for material purposes, using the Vedic knowledge to pose as being in knowledge. But he also criticized even more so those followers because they were just easily giving in to something. They were creating this false guru or false spiritual leader simply by their lack of desire to know the absolute truth. But Srila Prabhupada has very kindly shown us that we're living in a world of cheaters and cheated, and he's explained to us what is bona fide spiritual path. So without hearing what Srila Prabhupada had explained to us, then how would we know any different? So therefore, when people are misled, we shouldn't hate them. We should feel sorry for them. We should think, I could have been that. That could have been me as well. Except for the fact that we got the mercy of Krishna in the form of the transcendental literature, association of devotees, etc. So therefore, we should be humble. And Prabhupada says, don't forget you're dealing with Krishna. Be humble. Prabhupada said this in one lecture with a faltering voice. Sometimes we gain a little knowledge and we become a little proficient in some service or in chanting Sanskrit, but it was only a couple of years ago we didn't have a clue and we're up to all sorts. So it wasn't that long ago. And if we're not careful, we might be back to it. So that's why we're reminding ourselves this Trinadapi verse. And some days we need it more than others. And it's up to us to apply it to ourselves, not that we apply it to others, If everyone applies it to themselves, that works. But if we start applying it to others, unless your situation is such that you are responsible for others' spiritual well-being, then you may have to do that. So this is the transcendental knowledge is something which is realized through practical application. And so there's many lessons to be learned. And just when you think you've learned a lesson, everything's hunky-dory, then Krishna allows us a little bit breathing space, and then another lesson comes, and then another one, and another one. But Krishna, this is Krishna's mercy, because he quickly wants us to give up our connection with the material world and come back to him. And sometimes it's difficult to see Krishna's mercy. Just like the other day, Prabhu and I were discussing, it's all Krishna's mercy. And we had this drama some time ago. I don't mean devotee behavior. I mean, sometimes that happens as well. Some drama at the temple. But I talked to the devotees used to do this drama called Krishna's Mercy. You've probably heard it all before. And so what seemed to be for Birbal when he got locked in the prison and when the king got his finger cut off, what seemed to be some kind of reverse in life, then it turned out to be Krishna's mercy, because then the king wasn't eligible to be offered as a human sacrifice because he had a finger missing, and Birbal was locked up for apparently not appreciating the king's suffering or not being compassionate to him. And it turned out Krishna protected them both. So this is something which we have to learn, is to try to wait and see what is Krishna's hand in this, what is Krishna wanting from this. If we simply just try to force our hand on things, then often, it comes out as something half-baked, something not quite in full knowledge. And so Prabhupada refers to Srila Vyasadeva as Shaktivesh avatar. So there's two types of Shaktivesh avatars. Can anyone mention what they are? Can anyone mention one of them? Yep. Yeah, in fact, one scholar from one prestigious university in America, I don't know if Prabhupada remembers the video, but he was glorifying Prabhupada. He was saying that actually what Prabhupada did in such a short period of time, in terms of converting people to such a strict and devoted life from the backgrounds that they were in, and writing so many books and opening so many centers, he says this is according to his activities, he's a Shaktivesh avatar, which means specifically empowered living entity who comes to do the Lord's bidding. But also, if you look in the teachings of Lord Chaitanya, then there's empowered living entity, but also the Lord himself, which is I was kind of puzzled by that, because Shakti Avesh means like the Lord gives some Shakti, some power to the living entity. But that's what Prabhupada said, that there's two types. Sometimes the Lord himself, and sometimes empowers living entity. Therefore, sometimes it's confusing to people as to whether a certain avatar is Jiva Tattva or Vishnu Tattva. So, through the transcendental literature, and through the spiritual master, and through the Lord within the heart, then Krishna trains the conditioned soul to come to Krishna consciousness. So the moment our consciousness is conscious of Krishna sometimes, or we're trying to, at other times it's conscious of so many other things. But even some of the things we're conscious of, if they're connected to Krishna, then gradually it'll purify us, so we become Krishna conscious. Like sometimes we're just conscious of when's the next feast. If we're having a tough week, we think, at least if I can manage till Sunday. One devotee used to say that he lives from feast to feast. If I can just get to the next festival, then I'll manage to So he'd give himself that kind of carrot on the stick. And that's good, if whatever gets you through the night, as they say. And I was when I was in Hungary recently, one devotee said to me that he chose his spiritual master because he was a bit afraid of him, and he said he thought that was a good thing for him. But then he realised that the fear was actually just him. It's not that the spiritual master was someone to be feared, but because the spiritual master was of very high caliber and strict, and he'd be quite straightforward at times. But that's why he chose him, because he knew that if he didn't have someone like that, he would just be a rascal. And he needed someone who would keep him right. So ultimately, Krishna wants us to abandon everything in this material world which holds us onto this material world. Sometimes people use religious activities as a way of avoiding serving Krishna. Therefore, Krishna says, abandon all varieties of religion, sarva dharma parityaja. Like some of us came from certain religious backgrounds, and we maybe have abandoned those, but it's not that we've become more irreligious on account of doing that. We've become actually more understanding of what we were doing before. So Krishna knows that the fear is within our hearts because it's something that's unknown. Krishna is somewhat beyond us. Because we're living on the platform mainly of the mind and the senses, and Krishna is beyond that. He's Apurusha. He's beyond the range of the mind and senses. That's another name for Krishna. And so we feel comfortable within the realms of the mind and the senses. And sometimes we may feel a bit uncomfortable in an environment where there's elevated consciousness. So therefore, we may not have a great attraction for Krishna consciousness at times, but if we understand what is the goal, then we continue with the practice, and gradually the taste will come. So to begin with, there may be some distaste, and we think, oh, just let me see, what's that word? I'm not getting enough out of Krishna consciousness, so I'll just support it with a little bit of sense gratification on the side. But then that means we're denying ourselves the opportunity to get the taste which is there waiting for us. And Krishna patiently waits. He's been waiting for millions of births. So although Krishna is patiently waiting, he's not in the mode of passion. It's not like he's sitting in the heart going, come on, hurry up. I've been with you for ages. I'm a bit tired of this. I've got things to do. I've been here for about 10 million births. When are you going to get it together? No, Krishna just waits because he's not influenced by some other lower mode. But still, Krishna is eager. He's very keen. As soon as an opportunity, then immediately he wants to make roads back to him. And here Prabhupada finishes by saying, whoever takes advantage of this opportunity becomes liberated. And so that is that's not even considered such a great thing, actually, just to become liberated, because even the impersonalists get liberated. There was one person who was boasting that they were a liberated soul, and some devotees were concerned that the person wasn't really acting like a liberated soul. And the danger of that is then they start to, if their ego gets a bit twisted, then they start to act as if they're an avadut above the rules and regulations, which was coming. We could see that. That was, there's some talks in that regard. So then we just simply gave some quotes from Srila Prabhupada regarding a liberated soul, and the person became very upset. So that was the test. And the devotee who's liberated, they don't go around boasting that they're liberated. devotee always thinks that everybody else is a great devotee, but I'm just a nonsense. And that's quite a safe place to be. And this is what keeps us in the mood of willing to serve other devotees, not trying to consider ourselves to be in some position above them. Even the spiritual master, everyone's serving the spiritual master, but he doesn't think he's better than everyone. He's serving them. That's quite a thankless task. Sometimes the spiritual master takes on the karma for the disciple who makes a promise and they don't keep the promise. The spiritual master takes a reaction. Who wants to do that service? Hands up. Okay, giving out the services after class, and today anyone wants to be a spiritual master can take on some karma for the day as well as their own. Any takers? So it's a very responsible position. So therefore, when we make these promises, then we should keep them. And if we have difficulty, then we have to approach that person who's taking responsibility for us so that they can help us. It's not that they would abandon us. So, and we hear the sources of the transcendental knowledge and the path back to Godhead are described in the form of Guru, Shastra, and Lord within the heart. And of course, Guru means sadhu as well. Anyone get any questions or comments? Or corrections? Okay. Iskon Guru Vindaki. Shri Chaitanya Charitamrita Ki. Shri Kodantama Prashanshi Ki. Nitai Gaur Premanande.